This is a Christmas tree ornament, a tree topper to be precise, and it doesn't work properly anymore. So in this video I want to take it apart and see if we can fix it. So first off, if I give it power, it looks like it's working for the most part, really. It's probably going to be a little bit hard to see given the fact that I have a lot of bright lights on in here, but you can see there are red and green lights fading in and out. You may think that it looks like it's working, but in reality there's also supposed to be blue lights fading on and off. There's some flicker that the camera's picking up that isn't there in real life, but anyway, there are supposed to be blue LEDs in here as well, and it seems as though the blue LEDs or the driving circuit for the blue LEDs have failed. And I'm curious what has happened to this thing. It is 4 or 5 years old now, so it's not the newest thing. This is a fairly low voltage appliance, and I do have it just running off of a bench power supply right now. It takes 4.5 volts DC. It's got this kind of connector on it, which I believe is somewhat common for Christmas lighting applications, but the fatter plug is positive, a smaller pin is negative. Of course, it's got the standard warning labels, including one that says not to take it apart. So, of course, we have to try to take it apart and see what kind of secrets this thing has in it. Now, conveniently, this thing has many little sort of windows where you can get a pry tool in it all over the place. So let's see if we can't pop this guy open using those holes. Seems to be just kind of press fit together. There's no screws anywhere on it. There we go. And there we have a small circuit board with a fairly large number of LEDs on it. It does look a little bit crusty, doesn't it? Of course, this has been stored in a garage, so maybe that's not too surprising. I will also say I have 2 of these exact same lights, and both of them have failed in the same way, with the blue LEDs not functioning anymore. So I think what we should start with is by taking a multimeter. We'll put it in diode mode and we'll just check some of the LEDs. So let's go around this board and we'll just check the blue LEDs with multimeter and diode mode. Interesting. It is reading 2.7 volts, but that LED is not coming on by the looks of it. That's interesting, and I'm going by the diagrams printed onto the circuit board. And according to those, I have the leads hooked up the right way. That one's also measuring 2.7 volts, yet does not appear to be illuminating. Oops, didn't mean to bend that up. Can't really tell which way I should be measuring this one, to be honest. It's reading overload that direction though. Flip the leads around. And still reading overload. Oh, nope, there we go. 2.7 volts again. Also not illuminating. And the last one, same thing, 2.7 volts but not illuminating. Out of curiosity, let's try one of the ones that does work. For example, the green LED here. Now there we go. If I put probe across the green circuit, you see we're reading about 2 volts, and all 4 of the green LEDs came on, and presumably the same thing will happen for red. Yep, same thing happens for red, about 1.6 volts for red, and the LEDs are glowing just faintly. So something about that blue circuit doesn't work. That is interesting, because that almost, to me, implies that the LEDs are just bad, and they're not producing any actual light. It is possible that there's a track rusted through on the circuit board somewhere, but it doesn't really look like it's in that terrible of shape. There's some rust around some of the LED pins, and there's what looks to be flux residue on there, but it doesn't really look like it's in that bad a shape. I'll go ahead and pop the circuit board out of here so we can look at the back of it. It does appear to just have one screw right in the center holding this board in place, and not really much of anything else. the knot tied on the back of that. I think that just went over the plastic peg there, but back of the board is pretty unremarkable. You can see all the tracks in the board. I'll bring it up closer so the camera can see it maybe. Doesn't really look bad at all. Maybe there's some flux residue on it, but it looks just fine to me. I don't see anywhere where there's like an obvious broken track or anything like that. So let's go ahead and perform another little check here. I'll grab the power plug and we'll hook it back up to the supply. Since this is just a very low voltage appliance, I'm not scared of putting 4.5 volts on here and testing some things. What we can do is we can try to measure the voltage across the blue LEDs and see if it does anything. If I put my probes across the blue LEDs, get 0 volts, and there it pops up to 4.2. And fades back down again, which is what you'd expect because this is just fading all 3 colors in and out. So I guess that really just means that the 4 blue LEDs in this guy are dead, and they need to be replaced. There's not really much else to that. Now these are kind of the, I guess I would consider them weird LEDs because I don't have them in stock. They are pretty standard for Christmas lighting, but they've got the sort of concave lens on them that throws the light in sort of a wider pattern. I don't have any of those, I don't think, unless I stole them from some other Christmas light set. But I could probably throw some different blue LEDs in here just to get it working again. Okay, I've located my bag of blue LEDs. I've got the soldering iron warmed up, which means we should be ready to replace some LEDs on this board. Okay, I did manage to get all 4 new LEDs put on. Getting the old ones off proved to be quite a challenge, and I ended up ripping some of the pads off the board. You can kind of see I have the LEDs, or a couple of the LEDs, turned so that one leg is going to the top pad and one leg is going to the bottom pad. And luckily, this does work. I didn't damage the board in any way that caused any issues with this, but anyhow, you can see the 4 clear LEDs. The LEDs that came off of it, of course, were these sort of concave lens type blue LEDs. But anyway, if I go ahead and turn it on, you will see the blue LEDs all work now the way that they are intended to. And again, you can kind of see some weird shimmering and flickering. That's, of course, just due to the camera's shutter speed. But anyhow, all of them work. The only thing that might be a bit of an issue is maybe if I turn it sideways here, you can see the blue LEDs have a really sort of hot spot-like throw pattern versus the other 2 colors of LEDs, which have a much wider spread. So the sort of pointed lens type LEDs that are on this are the ones that I replaced the original ones with may not work as well when it comes to spreading light around on the inside of this case, but I guess we're just going to have to see. Now, I believe the board was mounted something like that originally, so that the board's kind of at 45-degree angles with everything. And then we want to run the power cable through this way, I think. Get this little piece of wire insulation out of here, and then put the top half back in place. We'll see what it looks like. Alright, of course the case just presses back together quite nicely, quite easily. And from what I've seen so far, those different style of LEDs really don't make any difference on the way that the actual effect looks. So, pretty happy with that. I call that a successful repair. Seems to be doing just fine. I am kind of curious why the blue LEDs failed. Perhaps these sort of blue LEDs just don't have as long a lifespan as the green and red ones do. Maybe they got moisture intrusion, maybe they were a bad batch, but it is weird because, as I said, I do have 2 of these stars, and both of them have failed in the same way where the blue LEDs quit working. So it's very likely I could it is very likely that I could repair the other one in the same way, and I may end up doing that. But anyway, yeah, there's not a whole lot to the circuitry in this thing. Real simple. It's a blob chip and 3 transistors, and then a bunch of LEDs. So yeah, there's not a whole lot to this guy. So anyway, I'd call that a successful repair. That's it for now, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.